Alright, we're practicing, reviewing, and redoing for the quiz on Monday. And I gotta practice reviewing and redoing myself. So I pulled out 4-word problems from 2 homework assignments. And let's see how we do these. Just a little refresher here. So I get 2 1/4, 3 1/2, 4 3/4. And I want to figure out the next 2 terms. So naturally I want to say that the big number here is going to be 5. Because it goes 2, 3, 4, but not so fast, my friend. Let's take a look at that first. So this is 2 1/4. How do I get from 2 1/4 to 3 1/2? Well, it's tough to compare fourths and halves. So I'm going to change 3 1/2 to 3 2/4. And that's an equivalent fraction. 2/4 is an equivalent fraction. And now it's really easy to see what I'm jumping here. I'm jumping 1/4 as a fraction and 1 whole as a whole number. So 1 1/4. And that pattern holds up right here as well. I'm going up by 1 1/4. So if I add 1 1/4 to 4 3/4, 1 1/4, I'm going to end up with 4/4 and a whole number of 5. So that's 5 4/4, which really is equal to the whole number 6. So 6 would be my next term, and if I add 1 1/4 to 6, the next term would be 7 1/4. So those are the next 2 terms for that one. This next problem here, we have David ran 4 1/2 miles. David ran 4 1/4 miles. Shane ran 4 1/2 miles. And Matt ran 4 5/8 miles. Who ran the furthest? Again, you're comparing these numbers here. So all the 4's are the same. So Red Rover, the 4 is right over. Let's look at the denominators. We have 2, 4, and 8. So what can we use for a common denominator? Well, if you're really, really stuck, you can always multiply the denominators. 4 times 2 times 8. We could use 64. And maybe I'll do that. I'll use 64 for one example. And you can even go smaller than 64. I think the smallest you can go right here is actually 8 for your denominator. So I'll do one with 8 as well, right below that. So 2 separate ways to solve this problem. And there's more than just 2 ways. I'm just doing these 2 ways. You might have done it even differently than me. Now, how did I get from 1/4 to 64? I multiplied 4 times 16. So I'm going to put this 16 up here, right, because I'm going to multiply my numerator by the same thing. To get from 2 to 64, I multiplied by 32. So my numerator becomes 32. And then to get from 8 to 64, I multiplied by 8. So I'm going to multiply the same thing with my numerator. 5 times 8 would be 40. And these are really easy to compare. Who ran the furthest? You can clearly tell Matt ran the furthest because now that we have the same denominator, we can compare the numbers. The numerator is the biggest with Matt. If I used eighths, well, I could leave Matt's the same. I could say that's 5/8. Shane ran 4 1/2, so I could say 2 times 4 is 8. So I'm going to multiply my numerator times 4. So 1 times 4 is 4. And then I do the same thing. My denominator here is 4, so I multiply by 2. And the numerator is going to be 2. And again, you can still see 2/8, 4/8, 5/8. Matt still ran the farthest. You're going to get the same answer either way. Alright. Maria has 8 gallons of paint she wants to use in 3 rooms of her house. She will use 2 1/4 gallons in the bedroom and 1 1/4 gallons in the bathroom. Use pictures to model how many gallons she'll have left to paint the playroom, and then write your answer in simplest form. So these are my models here. I have 8 gallons of paint, and I cut each gallon of paint into fourths. I just did rectangles. Keep it simple. So she used 2 1/4 in the bedroom. So I would shade that in, shade that in, shade that in. That's 1. Still not done with the bedroom yet. Or I'm sorry, the bedroom. That's 1 1/2 or 1 2/4, 1 3/4, and 2. And then to make it a fourth, I would have to color in this little box right there. Alright. She also did 1 1/4 gallons in the bathroom. So I'm going to color in the full 1. And then I'm going to color in a fourth on this one. And you could have colored this however you wanted to. This is how I chose to do it. So clearly you can see there's 4 whole gallons left, right? And it looks like 2 out of 4 on that one. So we'd write 4 and 2/4 and be so careful to follow these directions. Simplest form. Just be very careful. Always check. That's the one thing. If you're going to check your work, that's what I would be checking it for. 2 is a common factor, so I can say that equals 4 and 1/2. Alright, one more problem. We have the Jets and Patriots both play the same amount of games. The Jets won 9/12 of their games, and the Patriots won 5/6 of their games. Which team has the most wins? Now, obviously, the Patriots have the most wins because they're the best team. But we're going to do the math anyway. So, we can do this 2 different ways. We have 5/6 for New England and 9/12, and we're comparing these two numbers. So I could do 5 times 12. I remember this. I put my arrow there and I get 60. And then I do 6 times 9. I get 54. The answer goes above wherever the numerator was. So for 6 times 9, I put it above that numerator. And then I'm just going to rewrite it down here. 5/6 would be greater than 9/12 because 60 is greater than 54. You could also find a common denominator. So if we have 5/6, what's the common denominator? I can use 12 in this case, right? I can say 5/6 equals something over 12. 6 times 2 would get us 12, so 5 times 2 would be 10, and 10/12, I'll write it out down here, 10/12 is greater than 9/12. Those were your 4 word problems. Practice, review, and redo.